मैं उनको इनवाइट करता हूँ मंच पे कि ऊपर आ जाएं। डॉक्टर विकास कटियार वो भी ऊपर आ जाएं, और मेरा अनुरोध है डॉक्टर एस.एन. सक्सेना जी से कि कृपया वो भी आके सेशन चेयर करें। Who's the speaker?
Vikas Katiar. I am Associate Professor in Kanpur Medical College. I would like to introduce the speaker of today, Dr. Manoj Pandey, who is the Professor, Department of Surgical Oncology, Institute of Medical Sciences, BHU, Varanasi. He was born on 30th May 1966. And sir, I would like to invite you for the speech, for the talk. Thank you, sir.
A very good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you about a little offbeat subject. Offbeat in the sense that it is something which is not very commonly worked on. Apoptosis is something which we all know, but inhibition of apoptosis or inhibitors of apoptosis is something which is less worked upon. And I'll be focusing my talk on specifically on breast cancers, but this is something which can be applicable to almost all cancers inside the body. The talk in some places is I have tried to make it as simple as possible for even undergraduates and postgraduates sitting here. And in some places the talk is going to be more complex and is going to be more difficult to understand. Breast cancer is one of the commonest malignancies in our country. If you look at the age-adjusted rates, it is 22.8 per lakh of population. And it is the commonest cancer that you see among the women in this country, especially in the urban India. In the rural India, the cancer of the uterine cervix is number one. The unique feature of this cancer in India is that it occurs 1 decade earlier. That means almost 10 years earlier than it occurs in the US or the UK. This is something which is very specific of feature of Indian breast cancer. We are estimating about 22 lakh cancer cases and approximately 15 lakh death from breast cancer alone in India by 2020. About 10% of these are hereditary cancers. And everybody would have heard of hereditary breast cancers. Angelina Jolie has become very popular after she underwent bilateral prophylactic mastectomy for BRCA1 positivity. And but the percentage of the hereditary cancers is just 10%. 90% of the cancers occurs sporadic. Sporadic means they do not have a germline mutation or they do not have a inheritable mutations. The most common factor is the reproductive factors, lifestyle and the environmental factor. Among the reproductive factors, early menarche, late menopause, less number of childbirth, use of oral contraceptive pills is something which is attributed to the development of breast cancer. Obesity and high calorie intake has also been associated with breast cancer. Genetic changes, as I said, 10% are heritable, but almost 100% of them have an underlying genetic change. So a genetic mutation or a genetic change is going to be there in all breast cancer cases. These can be genetic, these can be epigenetic, these can be polymorphisms, or any kind of some DNA damaging mechanism. Some changes in the DNA is going to be there in 100% of the breast cancer cases. Basically, a word about cancer. Cancer basically is uncontrolled cell divisions, and this occurs because of abnormality in the DNA. And this abnormality in the DNA is cumulative. This means from the day we are born, every day our body get assaulted by a number of carcinogens. This could be automobile exhaust, this could be environment at home, this could be sunlight, this could be pesticides, insecticides in your diet. It could be use of fat. So it could be any kind of a carcinogen. Every day our body get assaulted by a battery of carcinogens. And every time there is a damage, and as we accumulate damage, we grow old, we develop cancers. The mean age of development of breast cancer is about 55 years, and in India it is about 45 years. So it does not occur in young, it occurs at a later stage, and because this DNA accumulation, damage accumulation is cumulative. This diagram basically shows gene-environment interaction, and the basic thing that it shows is that the mutations are cumulative. They occur because of exposure to the carcinogens in the environment, and it also occurs because of lifestyle factors. They keep accumulating, and if your body is not able to repair them, you go on to develop cancer. You develop an abnormal cell which starts proliferating abnormally. Today morning also somebody was talking about multi-step carcinogenesis. Multi-step carcinogenesis means cancer does not occur in one day. It takes time, it takes years to evolve into a cancer. The first change that occurs in the DNA makes it an initiated cell. Basically, if you look at this diagram, the nucleus, if you look at, the only difference between the two diagrams there is in the nucleus. So an initiated cell is similar in appearance or phenotypically is the same as a normal cell, but has accumulated DNA damage. So the nucleus is different. And these cells are called initiated cells. And the first step of carcinogenesis is called initiation. Initiated cells are very difficult to identify because they do not have anything apparently changing. And the only way you can identify an initiated cell is by a genomic analysis. Initiation can occur because of chemical carcinogens, because of reactive oxygen species, because of ultraviolet radiation, because of spontaneous mutations, or anything can produce a initiation, step of initiation. The second step is called promotion. The cell which has been initiated, which has accumulated DNA damage, starts multiplying, and that is called the stage of promotion. In this stage of promotion, what happens is, if you look at a cancer, it has multiple cells. Each cell has a different variation in the genomics, and these are called clones. And not all clones of the cell multiply. Some clone of the cell repair, go back to their normal, and some of them progress. So this clonal selection actually occurs in the stage of promotion. So the cells which are neither able to get repaired nor are going to die because of apoptosis progress to promotion. The third stage is called progression. From the promotion stage, it progresses, and after this third stage, it becomes neoplasia, or you can call it cancer. The fourth stage, which is very specific, is called metastasis. That the cells detach themselves from wherever they have arisen and goes and lodge at multiple places in the body. It's called metastasis. So the most important genes which are regulating the cell cycle in your body are called as checkpoints. The checkpoints are nothing but the tumor suppressor genes like P53, retinoblastoma, NM23, DCC. So these are tumor suppressor genes, and they basically controls the whole of the cell cycle. As I said, the moment there is a mutation, your body tries to repair it. The first thing that your body does is repairs. Like you develop a wound, a cut, an abrasion, your body tries to repair it. Similarly, when there is a DNA damage, your body tries to repair it. And only when the repair fails, normally the cell should undergo apoptosis. They die. This is basically the same diagram which shows that the cells which where a mutation has been identified, the tumor suppressor gene try to repair it. If this mutation is repaired, the cell goes to the S phase or the synthetic phase, DNA synthesis takes place. If the mutation is not repaired, your body kills that particular cell. It tells the cell to die, which is called as programmed cell death or apoptosis. Now there are two checkpoints. The first checkpoint is called G1 S phase checkpoint. The growth phase 1 and the synthetic phase, it is between the growth phase 1 and the synthetic phase. And this DNA integrity check occurs before DNA synthesis takes place. The purpose of this is to identify that no abnormal DNA should multiply. And this is controlled by two genes mainly. The gene which is shown in this picture is retinoblastoma gene. Retinoblastoma gene normally get phosphorylated. Once the phosphorylation occurs, the cell goes into the S phase. If the phosphorylation of the retinoblastoma does not occur, the tumor goes into transcription repression. That means there is no synthesis of the DNA. The tumor can also go into apoptosis, but that mechanism I'll tell you later, that how retinoblastoma regulates the apoptosis. The phosphorylation of the retinoblastoma gene is controlled by a complex of TGF-beta and cyclic AMP. The second mechanism, as I said, is a p53 mechanism, which is more complex than retinoblastoma. In the p53, there are 4 downstream pathways. Each pathway has a very specific function. The p21 pathway, basically when gets activated, the DNA synthesis takes place. So every time a normal human DNA is encountered by p53, it activates p21. p21 blocks the PCNA CDK complex and synthesis takes place. The two mechanisms, the BAX and the death receptor 5, are the two mechanisms by which apoptosis occurs. And GAT45 cyclin G complex is one where the repair of the DNA is attempted. So p53 is capable of repairing, normal control of the cell cycle and apoptosis. So it is basically controlling all the three factors, all the three things that happens to the DNA. The DNA repair is hampered by p15 and p27. If you look at the G2M phase, the G2M phase is classically controlled again by cyclin B CDC complex, cyclin dependent kinases. The whole of the cell cycle is controlled by cyclins and the cyclin dependent kinases. And this is the phase where if there is a abnormality in the cellular genome, the cells do not go into metaphase. Mitosis does not take place. Spindle formation is inhibited and cell will either undergo apoptosis or will go in senescence, will not divide. So this is the normal mechanism which is working inside your body, which is trying to protect you from cancer. You don't require anything from outside to protect you from cancer. Your body is programmed to take care of cancerous cells that arises inside your body. So why do we develop cancer? We develop cancer because these mechanisms which are controlling the cellular abnormalities somehow get inhibited. How do they get inhibited? If the tumor suppressor gene themselves get mutated, suppose there is a mutation in the p53, there are more than 600 single nucleotide polymorphisms which are known in p53 gene. There are more than 400 point mutations which has been described in the p53 gene, and p53 gene is one of the commonest gene which is mutated in the cancer. Almost 60% of the cancers have a p53 mutation. That is one. Second is if the gene gets deleted. The two common genes which get deleted, one is called deleted in colon cancer. Its name is deleted in colon cancer, DCC, because it gets deleted on the sequence. And the second is a retinoblastoma, which is again a deletion. Retinoblastoma is a gene deletion. Then the tumor suppressor gene can be activated by proteins like the E6 and E7, the early protein 6 and the early protein 7 produced by the human papillomavirus. Or they can be inhibited by proteins like inhibitor of apoptotic proteins, about which I am going to talk today. So basically there is a balance between proliferation and apoptosis, and these resistance basically, if you look at the whole of the apoptotic pathways are controlled by a set of genes called caspases. There are effector capsases and the messenger capsase, and these are the one which control the whole of the apoptotic pathways. So all that mechanisms which I talked about, the p53 mechanism, the retinoblastoma mechanisms, they will be controlling the caspases, while all these inhibitor of apoptotic proteins, these proteins also will be controlling the caspases. IAP is a characteristic that they contain two defining motifs. One is a baculoviral terminal and the other is a zinc finger. These two things are the common feature among all the anti-apoptotic proteins. There are 8 proteins which are identified. The commonest one are the survivin and the XIAP. Other than that, inhibitor of apoptotic protein 1 and 2, levin, apollon and ILP2 are the other proteins which inhibit the apoptosis. These are the proteins which are normally present in your body. This is the simplest relationship which shows between the survivin, XIAP and the caspases. Survivin activates XIAP and XIAP in terms inhibit caspase 3, thereby promoting the cell growth. So they are inhibiting apoptosis and promoting the cell growths. XIAP directly also leads to cell proliferations. These inhibitor of apoptotic proteins control both the intrinsic pathways and the extrinsic pathways. This diagram shows the extrinsic pathway simplified, which starts from the pro-apoptotic ligand, modulated through the death receptor 4 and death receptor 5, then stimulates the FAS, then caspase 8, and then the effector caspases 3, 6 and 7. And this leads to apoptosis or the cell death. The intrinsic pathway is a mitochondrial pathway, and this is normally activated by the activation of p53, and it is through APAF9, APF1